Welcome back to the shop. I'm Jeff from Today's Craftsman, and last week we were talking all about HDF in this cabinet build I have going on now. So this is one of the doors. We just got one coat of finish on the back. This is a color called Pale Oak by Benjamin Moore, and the product we're using is Gallery by Sherwin-Williams. This is a 30 sheen, so we have a bunch more painting on this to do, but we want to show you the shaper today. So these were made on the shaper. We want to show you what it does and how you use it, so let's take a look.
Promotional support for this episode is provided by Titan, a leader in spraying technology. For 50 years, Titan has been providing innovative solutions that real contractors need. For more information, visit titantool.com.
Here we are at the shaper, and we still have it set up for the fridge panel that we made, so you can see this groove here. That's how we made the fridge panel. We have, I don't remember if this is set up exactly. We had a 2-inch and a 2 1/4 inch reveal with this 1/4 by 1/4 groove. So we use this cutter here. This is a 3/16 grooving cutter. So you see we have our cutter here, and we also have these scoring blades. So this is just like a insert blade that you would have on like a planer. So there's ones on the top as well as the bottom. So we left this set up because we wanted to show you how we used it to make that fridge panel. You can see I have a sacrificial fence here. That's just to give me a nice even surface all the way across. I'm not dealing with two fences. But we can get into the specifics of the tool. I'll tell you a little bit about this particular shaper first. So this is a 5 horsepower Oliver. We've had this for probably about 4 years now. And it's treated us pretty well. It's got digital readout, which is nice, forward and reverse. So digital readout, I could actually, let's say I ran a test piece and I wanted to make my groove a 1/16 wider. I could zero it out, and then I could go, I can't do it now because we're trapped inside of here, but I could raise the cutter, and you see the digital readout is gonna change. I could bring it to 0.06225, and that would be 1/16. So really nice to have that. Makes it easy to fine tune your cuts. Have forward and reverse, so we can run the cutter forward, which would be counterclockwise, or reverse, which would be clockwise. You never want to feed anything this way when it's in reverse because it's gonna hit the wall over there, and vice versa. Let's pull this sacrificial fence off. So I just have this double stick taped. It's been on there for a while, so it came off pretty easy. You can get a better look at this cutter. So this is from Amana. We buy a lot of tooling from Amana. And this is an insert cutter. So these have 4 cutters on them, or 4 sides, cutting sides. And when these are worn out, we could just rotate them. So you get 4 times the life that you would. And they're carbide as well, so nice and hard. So we have the fence here. I guess I should say, essentially a shaper is a router table. So it's a router table that has a spindle instead of a collet. And the nice thing about this shaper is that it will accept a 1/2 inch collet, so we can run 1/2 inch router bits, or we can run shaper cutters. And this is an 1 1/4 inch spindle that we have in here now, but you can use other sizes as well, 1 inch, 3/4 inch, and so on. 1 1/4 inch is on the larger side, so you can run bigger cutters. You know, there's more stability. So we have a 2-sided fence here. We have some knobs in the back that we can loosen them and move them around. So if you have a very small cutter, you're going to want to bring these in up close. You know, you get them as close as you can so that you have the most support. We have them removed right now, but there are inserts. So I took it out for dust collection, and because I was running my piece vertical, I wasn't worried about having all that support. But depending on the size of your cutter, you can add and remove these inserts, you know, to get it closer. Keep things from falling in there. To adjust the fence in and out, we have a couple locking knobs here. And there's a knob on a rack and pinion right here that you turn to adjust the fence. And then each fence is actually independently movable or adjustable. So with this little locking knob here, you can loosen that, and we'll have to grab some B-roll. There's a knob back here that you can turn with a scale, so you can offset them. So you can use this like a joiner. So if you were to offset these and use a straight cutter, You could actually joint material on this. The fences aren't incredibly long, so it's probably not the best idea, but you could use it in that way. Good for all kinds of things, and most of the time you're going to have these set coplanar, which can be tough to get them exact, which is why, you know, I tend to go with a sacrificial fence, because this is going to bridge the gap and give you a nice smooth surface to go across. I alluded to the fact that this can run router bits, so we'll go ahead and take this shaper cutter off. I'll show you how to remove it, and we'll switch over to a 1/2-inch collet for 1/2-inch router bits. It's pretty simple. So inside of the body of the tool here, we open this door. This tends to get a little bit dusty and stuck, but we have a knob here to lock the spindle. So I'm going to pull this out and rotate it 90 degrees. So now it's locked in, and I'll come back here to the spindle, and I'm going to turn it until it falls into that pin. So you see now it's locked. So I'll grab my hex key, what is this, 8mm, and I'll loosen this. So this is just a machine screw. You can take that out. Take off our washer. Actually, I'm going to drop this down a little bit so that don't mind the squeal. Oh my goodness. I had the knob a little bit tight. So now we can remove these spacers. So depending on the thickness of your cutter, you use a different combination of spacers to get it where you want on the spindle. So 1.25 inch diameter on that spindle. Get a better look at this cutter. We've used this for biscuit slots before. It works really nice for that. Good for running biscuit slots on face frames. Could put these spacers back on because we're going to remove the whole spindle. Just get this on here hand tight. And then we're going to raise this spindle back up. Move our fence out of the way. So raise this back up. And we're going to loosen that big nut at the bottom. So the shaper comes with this wrench. And this is one of those where you always forget which direction to push it.
Ooh, I was waiting for that.
That way. Just crushed my pinky. Any blood? No. So we're going to loosen that just a little bit, and now we need to go back into the machine. So there's a basically like a bolt that goes up through and into the bottom of this spindle. So we have an adjustable here, and we can loosen that. So I broke that loose. So you see, this goes up through, it's pulling that spindle down. Now we can remove this. Some shapers have a fixed spindle, so I just keep this in here so I don't lose it. Not that this is a very losable item. So we can put this off to the side and grab our collet. So like your standard tapered collet that you have on a router, just a little bit bigger. And just threads in here. And then, you know, before we tighten it down, we can put a bit in there. Grab this. This is a rabbiting bit we just got. Came in from Bits and Bits, and we used it actually on this project. So I was in need of a large rabbiting bit, so this does 3/4. Pop that in there. You know, get the shank in there as far as we can. Tighten this down. and put our inserts in. These ones actually screw in, and it looks like one of my screws fell out somewhere, but we'll find that. Screw those in off camera. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. We can get them all in. So you see now we have a lot of support. So that's all changed out. We can come and unlock that spindle lock. You can see that the cutter spins now. And this will not turn on with the door open. So there's a safety switch. So if you go to turn it on, it doesn't turn on. Make sure that the door is closed. The bit is all set up for the cut, but we do need to check our speed. So this is a variable speed shaper. So down here, it's belt driven, sort of like a drill press. We have our chart here. So 3 different speeds, 5,000 RPM, 7,000, 10,000. So the bigger the bit, the slower you want to run it. You can imagine if you had a 6-inch diameter shaper cutter, the rim speed is exceptionally faster than what's going on in the center. So the bigger the bit, you need to sort of slow it down. But we're going to set this to 10,000. That's good for a small bit like this. So we take this handle, we swing the motor over. You can see it's a big 5 horsepower motor. And we're going to kick our belt down and put a little pressure on it, make sure we're in the right spot. All right, so I'm happy with where the belt is there. We can lock that, make sure that we're spinning freely, and close our door because, again, this won't start without having the door closed. I'm going to open up my blast gate for dust collection. So this shaper has collection inside of the cabinet as well as here at the fence. Make sure our cutter's clear of our fences. You see we brought them in real far. And we're just going to take a little rabbit out of this. We'll bring our cutter down so we're not taking a huge bite. So let's say that's about 1/4 inch. Lock our height down. Let me turn on dust collection. Wasn't blessed with long arms, so I can't reach that. And we'll make the cut. You want to be in forward. So obviously this is a bearing guided bit, so I'm not really using the fence. You're using the fence to begin the cut so that you have a nice stable place to enter the cut. You never want to enter a cut on a router bit just in the open. So you can't have these fences off and just start your cut. It's going to throw the piece this way. I can show you a trick, actually, not a trick, but a feature of this. You see these holes here. This is for a starting pin. So let's say you did want to remove the fence and you were routing a big round piece or an arched piece. John actually has footage of us doing this in the old shop. We didn't use a starting pin in that situation, but we could have. So this is a starting pin. There are, I believe, 4 holes. There should be 2 more in the back. And you can put this in, and this gives you something to brace against. So whether you're starting here or on this side, you have something here. You would likely do it here to start your cut. So you could bring this into the bearing and then come around and do your cut. So you can't just plunge into it without any support. But you can see, nice clean cut. That's the beauty of a shaper. It's big, it's heavy, gives you a stable cut. There's no chatter. If you try to do this by hand, you run the risk of tipping something or your router just not being able to handle the cut. We could show you some of these cutters and show you, how big they get. This is a big set for doing. Thought I'd turn that off. A few examples of shaper cutters here. We have a set here for doors from Freeborn. So this is a match set. We used this to build a Dutch door years ago. I think John may have a video about that on his channel. Beautiful white oak Dutch door that we built. This is a raised panel cutter. So you may have wondered how they get those raised panels with a big cutter like this. This is a a corrugated knife cutter head. So this takes custom knives. We actually have a video on this. I forget what it was called, but basically a piece exploded, and that's what we ended up making the video about. But you can get custom knives made and put them in here. We have this big cutter here. So in conjunction with a bearing, you can use as a flush trim. And a lock miter. So that may be a cool video idea. Let us know if you want to see that, how to make a lock miter. This is another nice big Amana cutter. So hopefully you learned a couple things about a shaper today. I would say look on Facebook Marketplace. You can find those old Unisaw style Delta shapers for a couple $100 typically. Doesn't need to be a 5 horsepower. A 1 horsepower is pretty useful, but I'd say go for like a 3 horsepower or a 5 if you can. We didn't even get into the power feeder, so if you want to see that and learn how to use a power feeder, what it does, and what sort of the advantages and safety advantages are, let us know about that. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a comment down below. We'll talk to you next week.